Welcome to WMX Americas in Miami. I'm joined by Chris Lentjes from Eurora. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about Eurora and your role within the company?
Sure. Well, good morning and thank you for having me. Chris Lentjes, CEO for US and Canada for Eurora. A bit of background about myself. Been in the industry, a long time now, but in the US probably around 20 years with background within DHL and also within Pitney Bowes before coming on in 2022 to join Eurora as development for the US.
Excellent. So what are the biggest challenges facing US companies right now?
Great question. And there's a lot out there. So from a challenges perspective, I think there's really two that come to mind. So one is cart abandonment. And this is more about for retailers. And if you think Google as a stat, Google said roughly about 70%, it's like 69.7%, is cart abandonment on average globally. So if you translate that, it's roughly about $18 billion of sales lost by merchants, which if you think about the reason for that on a cross-border side of things, it's roughly about 44% cart dropout. And that specific reason is due to not having accurate HS codes, non-accurate duties and taxes represented in the cart checkout, or they think the consumer thinks it's too high. So that's really an issue for consumers. It's an issue for brands, which impacts our industry and how we can support that. And that's what Eurora can also help with solving.
Yeah, I've noticed that if I leave something in my cart, I'll get a coupon in my emails,
right? And
that usually incentivizes me.
Exactly. There's a lot that goes into that background in the carts for checkouts and so on. But the second one on that is really about data compliance, and the industry is changing so fast. If you look at, as examples, ICS2, you've got nomenclature changes on HS codes and product descriptions. You've got different tax regime changes like Singapore that was in January, Dubai was in January. There's Canada with CARMS coming up. There is other things. So the rapid amount of change in cross-border around compliance and data accuracy is another big challenge for the industry.
You mentioned ICS2. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what companies can do to be in compliance?
Sure. So I think ICS2 is something that is a three-stage process, started in 2021. The release 2 is coming out March 1st from a compliance forward. And what it means is really transport operators, postal entities, and air cargo providers going into the EU will have new requirements around data and pre-submitting of that data to help customs in Europe to pre-check and for security types of things. And you think about compliance around the question is a couple of things that people can do. One is make sure you have 6-digit HS codes in the files that are accurate. 2 is that the quality of data. So don't have single word entries like t-shirt or sample or gift or things like that. You really need to be more prescriptive in how you're presenting the data. So these types of things will help in the compliance for ICS2.
Great. So any predictions for the near future?
I wish I had a crystal ball for a lot of things, but predictions for 2023. I think the data compliance piece, once again, that's a big thing. And it's not going to go away. It's actually going to speed up for 2023 and into 2024. And the reason I say that is that if you look at all the duties and taxes that a lot of governments are now receiving as part of their tightening of guidelines, I think a lot of countries will look at those countries and say, hey, I want my fair share of the pie too. So I think there'll be more change in the industry and tightening up of data. And also I think autonomous, you think about how you improve efficiency. So manual process and how they became much more automated, the tools that you can use to become automated, which can reduce cost in the business, can streamline operations, and ultimately help CX. So different things like AI around data and so on. And once again, that's what Eurora can help do and solve.
Excellent. So I want to ask you a little bit about your career. So
Sure.
You've had an interesting journey. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you are and any advice to up-and-comers.
Yeah, so I think at the end, you have to love the industry, right? And I do. It gets in your blood, but the people is really what it's all about. the connections even here at WMX, it's great to see everyone coming back into the fold. It's good to see the people, but the relationships that you build and the length of time that people are in the industry is testament to this, their focus on what they're doing. But if any advice from people coming into the industry is be a sponge, learn, right? There's a lot of knowledgeable people in the industry. Find out who they are. Everyone has their own story. It's whether you choose to listen to it or not. And by listening to these people and learning from them, you'll get a lot of information that can help you in your career.
Okay, so last question.
Yeah.
As you know, it's Valentine's
It is,
Day.
that's right.
And in the spirit of fun, I'm asking, what is it that you love most about your job?
What do I love most about my job? Two things. People. Right? Without people's the foundation for any company. And any company, especially in the supply chain, is the foundation to the economy, really. It drives a lot of the business. So number one for me is people. How you treat them, who they are, how you promote them and growth. But also, if you look at being Valentine's Day and all that type of stuff, I think it's, as I was saying before, you got to love the industry, right? It's unique, and there's great people. Yeah. But I think that sort of floats into that theme.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to hearing you speak later today.
I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.